Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys that we want you guys to stick around for, so please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, today we're going to be talking about an old story, but this seems to just kind of, this story doesn't seem to want to go away, right? And we're going to be talking about the Boston Celtics and Joe Mazzulla and Ime Udoka. Now, what's the backstory? We all know Ime Udoka did something that was very, very bad. Allegedly, he had some relations with some certain women in the organization, and that prompted the first year head coach that had actually taken a team to an NBA Finals appearance. I think the last time they did that was in 2010, so in over a decade. Helped coach that unit, and one of the best turnarounds in the NBA last season. Helped coach that team to the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics decided that they were going to suspend Ime Udoka for an entire season. And when the information initially came out after Brad Stevens and I think the president or the owner of the team came out and made a statement, they said that they believed that it was absolutely the right thing to do. And I think they said even Ime Udoka agreed with them. What is it doing that? And from that point forward, we didn't really know what the team was going to do. Then we found out that they were going to be replacing him with, assistant head coach in Joe Mazzulla, right? And they were going to be promoting him to interim head coach. So then that's what we heard, that he was going to be the interim head coach. And, he started to coach the team. And the Boston Celtics seems to pretty much start off the season pretty hot. Then we found out about Ime Udoka, that he made, a bit of news broke through agent Wojnarowski and others after the Brooklyn Nets fired their former head coach and Steve Nash, that Ime Udoka was going to be the number one candidate to most likely replace Steve Nash. But then what happened? We started hearing that, different sources were saying that certain voices were pressuring Joe Mazzulla and the Brooklyn Nets to not hire Ime Udoka. And instead, what they ended up doing was going in a different direction and promoting their interim head coach in Jacques Vaughn and promoting him to the head coach position, which meant that Ime Udoka was still the odd man out. He was still without a job. Now, what ended up happening? After the Brooklyn Nets hired Jacques Vaughn, I think 4 or 5 games later, they promoted him to the head coach, and I think they gave him a 2-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a year or two. But it was a short contract, but I think it was for 2 seasons. And we all know how the Brooklyn Nets have been playing, and they've been playing extremely well. And then when you look at Joe Mazzulla, if you look at the Boston Celtics, they've been playing well. Jason Tatum and these guys have been having a very good season. A lot of people thought that there would be a drop off. Although in their last 10 games, they're 5-5. So they're 500 in their last 10 games. But nevertheless, they still have the number one, record in the NBA. And they have the number one record in the Eastern Conference with a 25-10 record. And I think that that's a very, that's a pretty impressive, feat. They're 11-5 away, on the road, and 14-5 at home games. So one would think that maybe, Joe Mazzulla may get the next, may be promoted, to the head coaching job. This is similarly to the way that the Brooklyn Nets decided to do with Jacques Vaughn. But this morning, we're actually getting a report from CBSSports.com that's basically saying otherwise. And I want to read this article. It's essentially saying Celtics do not plan to remove interim tag from coach Joe Mazzulla during the season, per report. It continues on. Joe Mazzulla has exceeded expectations as interim coach of the Boston Celtics. He has 24-10 through the 34 games, leading the Celtics to the NBA's best record thus far this season. Caesars Sportsbook has him as the early favorite to win NBA Coach of the Year, with the strong odds at plus 175. For a coach who took over in September, it would be hard to ask for much more. And yet, the Celtics don't plan to rush into a long-term commitment. According to the Boston Globe, the Celtics do not plan to remove the interim tag from Joe Mazzulla during the season. More simply, this means that the Celtics are not ready to make Mazzulla their full-time head coach. This is still a decision they could eventually make. However, they do still have suspended coach Ime Udoka under contract for the next season and beyond. He was initially a candidate to replace Steve Nash with the Brooklyn Nets, but they ultimately decided to promote Jacques Vaughn and have thrived ever since. Mazzulla will coach for the rest of the season no matter what, according to him batch. Eventually, though, the Celtics are going to make a decision. In basketball terms, that is not going to be an easy one. Udoka led the Celtics to the NBA Finals with the league's best defense. Mazzulla has led the Celtics to the league's best record with the number 1 ranked offense, but not making a decision now. The Celtics may be waiting to see how Mazzulla performs in the postseason. They may also be continuing to investigate the incident that got Udoka suspended. Udoka allegedly engaged in a consensual relationship with team employee, and while the Celtics have not formally fired him, Brooklyn's decision not to hire after reports indicated that he would be the next coach of the Nets was curious, to say the least. Ultimately, the Celtics are in a relatively enviable position. Many teams lack a single viable head coach. Boston has 2. It's not clear which one will hold the job long term, but whoever doesn't get it should be the leading candidate for the other's job around the league. So you heard what the article had to say there. It said a few things, and here's my thoughts. Number 1, about them not deciding to make him to remove the interim coach tag on him. Let's address that point. Why would they not want to do that? Right? Because if you look at this team is a team right now that's ripe to make multiple NBA championship runs. So one would think that the thing you would want to give them is stability. And it's something that they have lacked since the suspension of Ime Udoka. You could see that that's something that's worked wonders. Stability we're talking about for the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets knew that they needed to calm the waters, and what they decided to do was add some certainty by hiring Jacques Vaughn and giving him a long-term contract. So at least the players know, okay, this is the coach that's going to be coaching us. We're going to be under, using his philosophies and learning from him. But if you leave it up in the air where it's like, well, he may be the coach or we may fire him and get somebody else, it creates a lot of uncertainty. And you see how that's helped, the Brooklyn Nets. In the case of the Boston Celtics, I've actually heard some players lament, like Marcus Smart, in one of the quotes numerous weeks ago, where he basically said he still doesn't understand how everything transpired. And his comments came out when the news came up about the Brooklyn Nets, potentially pursuing Ime Udoka. He's like, what the hell is going on here? We just lost a good head coach, and now he's going to go to a competitive, a rival of ours in the same conference. To him, it didn't make any sense. So to me, maybe that's in fact what it is, that maybe the Boston Celtics are waiting to see how Joe Mazzulla coaches his team in the NBA playoffs. And if it doesn't work out, maybe, I don't know, there's a chance that they could bring back Ime Udoka because, as the report just said, he is under contract. But this is something that we have to wait and see. But to me, I would have thought that this is a foregone conclusion based on all the reports, based on all the reports and the alleged things that have transpired between Ime Udoka and some of the staff members of the Boston Celtics. But hey, this is just my thoughts on this. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about this report? And I have 2 questions for you. Do you think that ultimately Joe Mazzulla will end up becoming the head coach, the full-time head coach of the Boston Celtics, or do you see a possibility in which Ime Udoka may return to coach this team in the future? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.